Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, today I have Matthias Radzovich on the line, and he's a founder over at PR Lab. Matthias, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
I love today's topic, by the way, how startups can build trust and authority through PR before they have a big budget. So I'm excited to get into this. But before we talk about PR Lab, I mean, I see the term founder here. When I see that, I got to ask, were you always an entrepreneur, or where'd that start for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, the company exists now for 8 years. Before that, I was just like working in-house for different startups until I decided to venture on my own and create my own firm. So I went, yeah.
What was that like? That was pretty scary? Was that like, how was it for you? I know when I went out on my own, I'm like, oh man, what's going on? I was like jumping off a cliff.
Absolutely, yeah. It's always so frightening. So like I would say the earlier you can start, the better, because the longer you wait, the more you have to lose. I didn't have much to lose at the time, so I was like, no, it's the time. But it's never the right time, right? So you always have to just like take the risk and see where it takes you.
I feel like you're calling me old. No, I'm just playing.
No.
I'm just playing. Oh, man. So now take me into PR Lab. So when you went to start this business, you mentioned you were already working in other startups and things like this.
Yeah.
Where'd the idea come from this to where you had enough conviction to go out and start it? Because that's like a lot of things you could have done.
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked with different with different PR firms, but I was in the client seat, right? So I was like, I had to hire PR firms for these startups, and I always faced the same challenges. They were kind of like, they're reactive, pretty much using the old PR playbook, focus on just distributing announcements via wires and via press releases. But when you're a startup, you need something different. You know what I mean? Like you need an agile partner that understands tech and language of growth and will give you that flexibility to pivot and test different things and will kind of like create the news instead of waiting for the news to happen. I couldn't really find that partner. All these agencies were very much like stuck in their own ways and not very flexible and so on. So I thought, hey, there's an opportunity here. You know what I mean? Like all these agencies, they're very much specialized in corporations, but like there was no agency specialized in startups and scale-ups that would understand the language of growth and tech. So that's why I decided to create PR Lab. I saw a gap. I saw a need in the market. And so that's how it went.
Interesting. So when you were creating the market, so when you were creating the product and the idea behind it, and what did you do first? Like, so you got the problem. Now, how did you feel like, okay, I can solve this?
For my side, you mean for PR Lab?
Yeah.
So by the time I was for those startups, I also created a community of different PR professionals that were facing the same challenges. So we would meet up once a month and we will learn from each other. And it was nothing like those trade shows or things like that. It was like, it was no pay to play or anything like that. It was just like people
at time, just to be clear, you didn't start PR Lab and you didn't know yet, or you already had started it? I just want to make sure I understand.
No, so like PR Lab started as a community, right? So it was first a community of meetup and different PR professionals working for tech companies that will get together and we will learn from each other about what was working for them and different like tools that they were using, things like that. And I was hosting those meetups, so that got me a bunch of visibility that then other these companies would reach out to me like, could you help us with PR? Because like we need someone like you. And I was like, okay, well, there is interest. I have this idea in mind. So my current employer at the time was like, yeah, we're happy to become your first client. So that's how it went. I started like freelancing, consulting, and then slowly started hiring people. And that's how PR Lab came to life. That was like 8 years ago now.
What do you think? What do you think the secret to, or like, what do you think? I should say it in a different way. What do you think made your community work? Because a lot of people listen to this and they hear that term often, but not everybody can start a business out of a community. Whether you know what I mean? Like what was that secret sauce, or like what made it special or unique?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I fully agree with the fact that communities are not necessarily like the most profitable type of businesses out there. It's really hard to make a profit out of a community. But that was not my intention with it. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to learn from other professionals in the field because I was facing the same challenges that they were facing, and there was nothing out there that would guide us towards hitting our goals and stuff like that. Because it was
so there was kind of like real authenticity behind that. It sounds like
absolutely.
It wasn't like just like maybe starting a community just to monetize it immediately. Like you were trying to figure out what your
I was just trying to get people together. And
not saying I'm against monetizing a community immediately, by the way. I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding your story right. Like some people do well doing that too. So continue, please.
Yeah, no, like we would get sponsors for the events and so on, but we wouldn't really make a profit. We wouldn't make money out of it. You know what I mean? It was just like cover the costs, would pay for the pizzas and the beers, and have a good time.
Oh, that was the secret. There's always something there, Matthias. That was okay. Everybody heard it. This is a serious show. We get the real content out here. This was the secret. It was the pizza and the beers. Continue.
Well, that worked though. I'm telling you, that definitely got us some people in there. Indeed, but yeah, no, it was draining, to be honest, to organize those events as well. But on the other hand, I learned so much and met so many people that were in the same field, and that's how it happened. Unfortunately, after the business started like operating and so on, I had to like stop organizing those events because it's so much work, right? But like it really gave it a boost at the beginning, and some like a nice reputation in the market. And then we started expanding across borders, and then opened an office in the US and opened an office in Sweden, in Spain, and now we're a global firm. So, but yeah, I mean, it's quite unique indeed, the fact that we started as a community, but like for me, that's kind of like in our DNA, right? So we still try to cherish that and like live by those principles. So we're sharing a lot of content all the time on socials and like playbooks and different like tips and tricks, because like it's all about openness and sharing rather than kind of like gatekeeping your knowledge. You know, that's our principle as a company.
So speaking of that, that's a good transition. So many startups think that you have to have this huge, large marketing budget before investing in PR. Like, let's do some myth busting. Like, is that true? Is it like, what are your thoughts?
No, I don't think that's true at all. In fact, that's what I wrote a book about that. Startups in general tend to think that PR is like a very fancy, expensive tool, that you do PR when you have something relevant to announce, right? Like when you have news to share. But there's so many tools that we use in the PR world that are so beneficial for startups to build authority and trust that don't require news to share. For example, newsjacking, inserting your company in the overarching conversations. You start building authority, you start getting mentions. Those
Give
mentions
an example of that. Go one layer deeper on that example, because I don't want that's your day-to-day knowledge. You said newsjacking. Not everybody knows what you mean. Like I heard of hijacking, maybe, but not newsjacking. Go ahead.
Well, you're hijacking the news, right? So let's say you're a company that is in the quantum space, right? And now quantum is in the spotlight. Everyone's talking about it. Even the government in the U.S. decided to, came up with a resolution about it and so on. So like, if you're a company operating in that field, you could totally put one of your experts in front of the media to educate them about a new regulation that is being discussed in the parliament, for example, like a new law or even new trends or a new technology that is being discussed out there, that it's directly related with what you sell. So you could like shed light into that conversation without necessarily selling your services or your product, but you start positioning yourself as a source, as an authority in your field. In return, you get mentioned, you get backlinks, and then you start being quoted in AI results in the search engine. So it's a win-win. But the story is not going to revolve around you, and that's what startups always get wrong. They think that effective PR is just getting an article published about yourself.
Yeah.
But being a source, being an add-on to that story is equally as beneficial, especially nowadays in the era of AI, because these AI tools are always quoting companies in the results based on the media presence. So they use the media as a source, right? So getting featured in the media is so beneficial. So yeah, you don't need to have news to share. You could do that. You could also create data reports and analyze how your field of work is doing, and start also collecting data around that and sharing that with the press, because a lot of the stories that we read are based on of that, of data. And you don't need news to share to also collect data and distribute it. You know what I mean? So
and especially when you think about authority and what how AI is playing into this, like the more content you have out there that's relevant, timely, and otherwise, like you can't fake that. You can't fake you did a press release or did a comment or had a quote placed in something 5 years ago on a particular topic.
Exactly.
But AI is going to pick that up. And they're going to know, and then so all of that over time, like to me, it's become more important than ever to be putting out content that's authoritative, and especially if you've been in the same niche, or if you're not doing that, just period, then someone that is going to win, because you're not going to be able to just have like good SEO on your website, and all of a sudden people are going to. It's not going to happen anymore. Like, especially as AI gets smarter, it's going to be like, oh, is this person relevant in the conversation? Like, period.
Exactly. Yeah, endorsements are so important indeed to be featured in those answers. So like the whole PR industry is becoming more and more relevant with these AI changes and so on. I mean, the search engine is still relevant, but
of course, absolutely,
we see it also with our own traffic.
Yeah. It'll always
so
be
much
relevant.
of it is now coming from. Yeah, so much of our traffic is coming from those sources now. So it's the same for our clients too. And another thing that has changed recently is that back in the days when you would do PR, it was all about reach. The bigger the outlet, the better the result. But nowadays that has changed because specialized media is playing such an important role in those AI results as well. So getting to what we call trade publications, specialized publications, it's so important nowadays because it's a way to build that authority. And it's easier to get featured in those than in the New York Times, for example. And on top of that, there's so many renowned publications that have added paywalls. So you have to kind of like subscribe to read the news, which is making those news less accessible to everybody, whereas the trades are not adding as much paywall. So
and I can't prove this. Maybe you have a comment on this or maybe you don't, but I can't prove it. But in my opinion, where things are going, the trade publications, because it's more niche down, I feel like those are going to gain higher and higher. And I'm probably saying the wrong word for this, but whatever it is, if it's not domain authority, that's the way I explain it, but it's just going to have higher and higher domain authority, especially some of those been around for 10, 20 plus years, and they go on longer and longer. Like, and the people that are actually, because it's more about like curating the audience that wants to read it and that stays on the site and cares versus a bunch of traffic that's there for a little bit of time. So their domain authority goes up. So I feel like all of those things lean towards proving exactly what you just said.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the thing is like domain authority, domain rankings, those are like metrics created by marketing tools that were an indication of like how much trust the outlets have, but like AI has changed that playbook. You know? And the reality is that we still don't know how do they prioritize those outlets, but we do know that the media is one of their preferred sources for these AI tools to select which companies to feature in the answers, alongside Reddit, for example, or I don't know, LinkedIn and stuff like that. They all have their preferred sources, but what we've seen across the board and with recent data is that they all prioritize media results. And the higher the authority of the outlets, the higher chances of getting featured in those. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Matthias, this has been a lot of fun having you on today and learning more about what you're doing over at PR Lab. Final thing and final question here. You mentioned a book. Please leave that name of that book because I love people to go pick it up, and I love to support authors. And also, how do people follow up? How do people follow up and connect with you and your team?
Yeah, so the book is called The PR Paradox. It's available on many stores online like Amazon, Walmart, etc. And I always love to connect with people on LinkedIn, so they can connect with me over LinkedIn, Matthias Racewicz, or they can follow us. Our website is prlab.co.co, and they can just like follow us on LinkedIn, PR Lab. And that's it.
Perfect. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct. Each and every day, we bring you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow. And Matthias, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks again for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed the chat. We'll stay in touch.